Hello, beautiful people. Welcome to On the Bright Line podcast, Tales from Recovering Food Addicts from the perspective of a physician, a therapist, and an off-the-wall storyteller. We are not affiliated or endorsed by Brightline Eating, and all content presented in this podcast represents our personal opinions and does not represent medical, nutritional, or psychological professional advice. On today's episode, we are going to be talking about exercise. We've talked before on previous episodes about our relationships with exercise and how they have influenced weight loss and the weight loss mindset and all that sort of thing. But we also feel, and I'm speaking for everyone in the room, but I think they agree with me. We feel like exercise is important. Moving your body is important. It's not something that we shouldn't do or we should be dissuaded from doing. I just think that the question I think a lot of people come to BLE with, because you're told at the very beginning of BLE to not exercise, is when? When do I do this? Like, when do I start? What exercise do I do? Those are all questions I know that I've seen in the online community, and I've even had myself. So today, we want to talk about that. We want to talk about exercise, all things exercise, and so Bonnie, again, starting with you because, I'm starting with you, but I'm going to start with you because you've been doing this longer than me. And so I think that you probably have the longevity thought about when you started exercising during your program, like what the mindset around was around that.
Yeah, I think we are taught all of our lives that to control your weight, you need to eat a healthy diet and exercise. And I every time I'm on social media and I'm scrolling, there's these ads for this. They're showing these like super buff fit people eating pizza and donuts and stuff and going, it's not about the food, it's about the exercise. And it's like, actually it's not. Yeah. It's really about the food. And I definitely have used exercise to control my weight before, and it has never been sustainable. Yeah. And it creates its own kind of chatter around the desperate need to exercise because, oh my gosh, I ate whatever and I don't want to gain weight.
The bargaining.
Yeah, the bargaining about it, right? So I took it really to heart that the program said, when you start this plan, don't exercise. Exercise takes, unless you just start, there are a few people who just really always love exercise, have always loved moving. And when
are exercising for mental health. Let's talk about that.
But in other words, they emotionally feel great when they do it, and it's not a struggle, right? It's not something they have to get themselves to do.
Right, it's not work.
But for most people, it requires some self-discipline to get on a regimen of exercise that is sustained long-term. And so the idea is that if you're going to give up sugar and flour and follow this program, this BLE program, you need to start by using all of your willpower energy to focus on that, and don't try to add in another thing of trying to exercise on top of that. And I think I took that really to heart. And so when I started the program, I did not exercise at all, didn't do anything, any activity. And lo and behold, with no activity at all, my weight very slowly. I was a slow loser. So just for any of you out there that are doing the...
She's a slow loser.
I'm a slow loser. So for any of you out there doing the program that aren't experiencing the 2 pounds a week excitement that you see some people post about, I lost about a half a pound a week. And it took me, a little more than a year to get my weight to a healthy, to my regular weight. So I did not add exercise in probably for 6 months. And then when I did, I started out adding a habit stack of meditating in the morning. And then I added like 10 minutes of cardio and then meditation. So I kind of did it as a habit stack. And I was very deliberate about, this isn't about losing weight. This is about just moving my body some more to feel good. And I do feel really great when I exercise, but it does still take willpower. And I will say that, as I've gotten older, and for most people probably experience this, periodically you have an injury or an illness or a life thing or a whatever, right, that derails your exercise. I mean, I was doing regular cardio, for example, every day up until about 3 months ago. And then I had just some life stuff happen and I haven't been able to do it, and now need to get back on it. It will take me, again, willpower to establish that habit. But my food is solid, right? And so it hasn't affected my weight, right? My weight hasn't changed at all because I haven't been doing that exercise. And I definitely have added protein in when I've been doing sustained regular exercise. So if you find, get the coaching, go on a coaching call, get help with that. Again, we talked about before, be transparent with yourself, with your accountability people about, if you're going to do an ad when you exercise. But in general, my exercise has come and gone depending on what my life has brought. And I feel better when I do it. But I don't count on it anymore to control my weight, right? I just do it because I feel great and my joints feel great and my body feels better when I've been doing exercise regularly.
Yeah. And Robin, do you want to talk about the bargaining you were talking about?
Oh.
Because I know that we have talked about this before on the podcast, how we used to literally calculate calories to, exercise to food. And this is prior to BLE. And this was the way that we managed. So I know that you were a part of that.
Oh,
so
very much so.
If you want to talk about your experience with that a little bit.
Oh, I can remember us like sitting around the lunch table and like the three of us would be maybe going to exercise that night. And we would be sitting there like calculating how many calories were we each going to burn and could we have this and could we have that, right? And it just really increased that chatter. But yet at the time, my guess is we all would have said, well, see how healthy we are, right? See how healthy we are. And I was looking back at a picture of the three of us after we had done our sprint try, and I was like, wow, like I don't think any of us were truly healthy.
Yeah.
Right? We had stamina.
Yeah.
We had, great cardio endurance. We could run, we could cycle, but we weren't healthy. Yeah. Right? And
well, and I think the emotional aspect.
Oh,
of
yeah.
that, I think that's, and I think that's probably what you're talking about.
Well, but even physically, right?
Even
the things I was eating, I was drinking 2 Frappuccinos a day and eating,
That's how Bonnie and I met through Starbucks. Right. I haven't heard that story, so thank God that she was the Starbucks
that's
addict.
the thing. So like Robin said, like we had the cardio health from the cardio we were doing, and we had built some muscle, but our whole bodies weren't as healthy as they could have been because of the fuel we were putting in them.
Right.
Yeah. And I think, I love that idea of exercise not as a way of managing weight, right? Not as a way of justifying extra food, period, right? But as something that we add in that makes us feel better. I enjoy exercising, but because of injuries, I can't do what I used to do. And I really miss it because I miss the peace that brought me, right? And exercise is one of the number one things associated with improved mental health. If you do nothing else and you just move your body, right, your anxiety is going to go down. Your depression might improve a little bit. And so being willing to see it as that, right? Not that I am doing this to be able to justify, tons of extra food, right? But
or to lose weight.
Or to lose weight.
Yeah,
Yeah,
let's talk about that.
Yeah. But that this is something I do just, Bonnie, just like you were talking about, you were adding in like, the a little cardio with the meditation as a habit stack to improve our overall wellness as human beings. And I think that's a really key piece. And so if you can see exercise as something that you're doing just to better yourself, to improve yourself, to have more peace, more calm, right? Because to me, Sprinkles is, having a little bath down there, right? but that idea that as someone who wants to be healthier in all aspects, right, that to me, exercise is one of the best things that you can do.
Right. And I think, for me, I think that I talk about this a lot with people in the program, is that you shouldn't add exercise until you really want to exercise. And for, because this is what the program talks about a lot, is that the willpower gap and your bucket of willpower that you have every day, it takes willpower if you are not someone who just naturally wants to exercise all the time to get that habit going. And so it's not like one of these things. It's not a prescription of which I felt like it used to be in previous weight loss attempts, and that's it. It was a prescription of eat this many calories, do this much exercise, equaling weight loss, right? And I feel like now it's like fix the food, fix the what's
relationship.
Going on, what's going on in your head and why you use food the way you do. And if you want to then move your body, because I will say I didn't exercise well, I would still say I'm not exercising, but I know I hike. And so people are always like, but you're hiking. And to me, my hiking is about my mental health. I have 2 little children. I have a full-time job, and I love my husband. He's great. But it's like, I need some peace to get away from that sometimes, you know? And so that is my alone time. That is my mental health. And am I moving my body? Whoop, Sprinkles is barking. Sorry. Am I moving my body? Am I, am I burning calories? Well, yes, I am. But it's not like it used to be, which is like, I have to pound the pavement. I have to get this run in so that I can burn these calories so I can lose this weight. It's like, I want to hike because I want to enjoy myself. So I would say, I would estimate at this point, I've been in the program for 10 months now. 9, 10 months. I don't know. I can't do math. Math is hard for me.
The maths.
That I have not really even started exercising, even though I do hike.
But is that perhaps a better way to frame that, right? Because I think for a lot of people, when we use the word exercise, there's a lot of negative connotations to that.
Me. I mean, that is who I am. I will raise my hand wholeheartedly and say, you say exercise, and I'm like,
bleh,
count me
peace
out. That's right.
Right? And so perhaps framing it a little bit differently of what can you do, as you've said, what can you do to move your body that either brings you joy, contentment, right? For a lot of people, we live in the beautiful Pacific Northwest. And so that idea of just being outside in nature. Right. Just, whether that's, going and walking at the garden, like when we lived in an alternate state that was very hot, I would stop and in my day and go, I drove for a living at the time, and I would go to the local garden center wherever I was, and I would just walk around the garden center.
I just want to say out loud, Robin has a beautiful garden, and she's really good at that.
Oh, thank you.
I mean, Bonny has a beautiful garden too. I'm the one that doesn't have any green. There's no green about me at all, so nothing green.
but I think whatever you're doing, right, to get outside and move your body, whether that's, taking a walk at lunchtime, whether that's, I'm going to walk up and down the stairs at my office building. I'm just going to walk down the stairs at the office building, right? When you start seeing yourself as someone who moves their body, right? I think that helps shift your definition, the story of who you are in your head as, I am someone who moves my body.
Well, and I will talk about being someone coming from big numbers, over 300 pounds when I started. It was not comfortable to move my body. I mean, I remember, my mom's going to laugh at this story. We were on vacation in Idaho, my whole family, and we went on this hike, and it kept going on. And I love to hike. And now I think we did 8 miles round trip. And now that's kind of laughable that was hard for me. I seriously thought I was having a heart attack in the middle of this hike. And it was like, I was at, carrying around a lot more weight. And it was, it was really uncomfortable to move my body, and joints hurt and all that kind of stuff. And to look back on the fact that was only like 3 years ago to today, where, 8 miles is a regular hike for me, and that I can do that and be fine and not feel like I'm having a cardiac event, because I really thought I was going to die that day. It was a little frightening, but I just want to say that, like, if you're coming from big numbers, just having the relief, and I have heard other women or other people, I mean, not just women, but I've heard other people in this program say, like, when the weight started to come off, they wanted to move more because they weren't feeling so encumbered by their bodies anymore, which to me is like, the thought, I don't know, like, I'm having a hard time expressing it, but like the thought to me about, I was always told before, you have to move your body to lose weight. And now I'm being, in this program in BLE, you don't need to worry about moving your body to lose the weight. You can lose the weight without having, because I think especially if you're over 300 pounds, telling somebody even go for a walk can be hard. Like, I'm out of breath. I can't do it. And so like how disheartening. I mean, I can think about my doctor even saying to me at one point, like, well, could you just walk? Could you just walk?
Right.
And it's like, and I'm like, I just, even the thought of like that being the advice, like, and just, I remember being so resistant to that. It's like, I can walk. Do I want to walk? No, I don't want to walk.
It's uncomfortable.
Well, but it's also not the solution.
But it's also that emotional discomfort
Yeah.
of, right, like you're naming, just going on that hike and feeling so uncomfortable that you thought you were going to die.
Yes.
Right? I can't imagine how emotionally uncomfortable that would be and how much extra, emotional energy that would take. Right? To think, well, I'm supposed to be, doing this.
Right.
The should, right? I should.
Right.
Right? Do this, do
well,
this
and that's
thing.
what healthy looks like.
Right.
I think that's the other thing
Right.
that's really a struggle, and a lot of people, like, I have to wear the leggings, and I have to have, the
Right.
sports bra on,
Right.
in order to be, to get out and to do the healthy thing.
Right.
And like, I think
Right.
we need to get out of that mentality that, like, sorry, but if anybody's a personal trainer out there, but that just
Right.
like personal trainer mentality of like,
Right.
oh, you have to move. That's the only way that you
Right.
can be healthy. And again, I don't think, I'm not saying that movement is bad. I think movement is good. I think it's, good for longevity. It's good for joints and muscles and, bone health and all those things. But it's just not the epitome of health that I was always told it was.
Yeah,
When doctors and trainers and people were telling me, like, this is how you lose weight.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. If you don't have control of food addiction, no amount of exercise is going to fix your weight. And if you're eating tons of sugar, no amount of exercise is going to undo all the deleterious effects of that, that activity.
Yeah.
And exercise is wonderful and it's really important for health, but it is not your ticket to weight loss. And so it's the thing you add in once you have automaticity with your food, once you have the food addiction under control, once you feel good about where you're at with your food, and you want to add that in, it's time to add it in. And maybe it's even better to take the word exercise out of it.
Yeah.
It's movement and activity.
your body.
Yeah.
And you do exercise. Hiking 8 miles is exercise,
Sure.
right? It's a type of
Yeah.
exercise. It's activity and movement. And I think adding in activity and movement can be done when you're ready.
Right.
And the other thing is, it does make you feel wonderful, right?
For sure.
And so that's why you're doing it, right?
Right.
You're not doing it to control weight. You're doing it, for the right reason.
Well, and I think that talking about the habit stack is really important too, because I know for me recently, I've been working on my habits, and we did talk about this in a previous podcast, that that's something I've been really diligently working on lately. And I just added in stretching, and it's like, even just that movement has really just helped me, feel like it's helped me feel better in the morning. And I'm not considering that exercise. It's just like, I know I need to get up and I need to stretch, because I've been told my whole life, like, your muscles are tight, you need to stretch. So I'm like, okay, how do I institute that in my life? So I like that idea of that being part of more about the habit forming than about like, again, like the need to lose weight, or the need to feel like it has to be there because of some kind of prescription for weight loss.
Yeah.
So,
Or that it has to be, I've heard people say, well, but that's not enough, right? That's not, quote unquote, exercise, right? And so I would argue that we all have a tendency to minimize what we're doing, right? Like Meagan, you even said, well, I only hike, I just hike.
well, I think I do that because I don't want people to think that, like, I'm exercising for weight loss. Like, and
Yes.
I think that's why I do it.
see.
It's,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
not because I want to minimize the movement, because I don't want to minimize the movement. I just know that I have been tripped up in the past, and I don't want anybody who hears me say that's might be new to BLE or old time BLE or whatever, say, oh, well, Meagan hikes and that's why she's losing all
That's
the
why
weight.
she's successful,
Right.
right?
Because
right.
I don't think that has anything to do. I cannot hike and still lose weight.
Yeah.
And I have, like, I can,
Yeah.
I skip a couple weekends because of life,
Right.
and stuff that happens, and I'm still losing weight.
And that's the thing. When you've got the hold to the food,
Yeah.
the exercise is not, it's just the extra thing
Right.
to
Right.
do other things, like help you be more limber and help you feel
Right.
good.
Right.
And
Right.
But sorry, back to your point about the minimum. Don't minimize.
Yeah, don't say, well, but I only went for a walk, and so that doesn't count as like moving my body.
Right.
And it's about approximating, right? Like you were saying, I started with stretching,
Yeah.
right? And if you just want to stretch, okay, that's enough,
Yeah.
right? That counts. And I think as human beings, we tend to minimize things and say, well, but if it's not XYZ, then it doesn't count. And I guess I would say whatever you're doing, if it brings you joy, then that's the goal, right? If somebody just says, like I said, I used to love just going to the garden center and just walking around. That brought me joy. I was moving my body. I was in nature. I wasn't on a device. And I really enjoyed that.
Yeah.
And if that's going for a walk, if that's pulling weeds in the garden, that's,
Moving your body.
that's
Right.
that start of movement.
Right. And it doesn't have to be, I think that I've just heard other people talk about like, oh, well, I need to do X, Y, Z. I need to hit this many steps, or I need to do that.
Right.
I'm just,
Right.
and it's funny because I was just sitting here thinking the stretching app that I'm using even tells you how many calories you're burning. And I'm like, stop.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm like, stop. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not doing this to burn calories, but it's just so ingrained in this diet culture, and that's
Yes.
like, I mean, ooh, like,
And it becomes a different kind of chatter.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Because it goes in this, let's bookend it back
Right,
to the beginning.
right.
It's the bargaining of
Right.
like, oh, I burned an extra, 15 calories today. Like, what can I put in that place?
Yeah.
And it's the reality is that that's not how we should think about movement. And movement should be about, like you said, joy and doing things that make you happy. And if that is literally walking down to the corner and back to enjoy a sunny day, and that's all you can do, then by golly, go walk down to the corner. You don't have to do more than that.
Yeah, if that's what you want to
We
do.
had a really great trainer that we all worked out with years
Yes.
ago. And I
Yeah.
remember he said, well, what do you want? And we're like, well, I want to lose weight.
Right.
I want to get my cardio fit. I want to do a
Right.
triathlon. I want to no.
Right.
And he was like, that's too many things.
Yeah.
You can do one thing.
Yeah.
Right.
People can do one thing at a time.
That-
So
Yeah.
pick the one thing,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And the one thing with exercise can't be to lose weight.
Yeah.
You've got to
Well,
focus on the food to lose the weight. And then exercise can be for one more thing when you're ready.
Well, and that's the thing is that, and that's Susan's advice why to not exercise at the beginning of this program is because you can only do one thing.
Yeah.
And getting into this program and dealing with the food addiction is the biggest thing. And to me, it's like you will deplete your willpower ever so quickly trying to add in another thing if you are not automatic with the food.
And if you want to know when to start, here's the thing. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Because as Meagan said, as you start getting healthy and get your food under control, you will physically start feeling so much better. You will want to move.
Yeah.
And you will know when it's time because you will feel the urge to do it.
Amen.
Right?
I completely,
Yeah.
that's completely right.
Yeah.
Well, that's today's episode on exercise, guys. Thanks so much for joining us. We'll talk to you next time.